Hello everyone, how are you doing? Thank you for joining me on another live stream where we continue to build our used cars website using Laravel, Livewire, and Filament. Today is all about search because this application lives and dies by how fast a user can find a car. So I thought maybe we incorporate things that I haven't used before, for example, Redis, is it, how's it called? Redis for the, I'm gonna try Redis for the queue. I'm actually going to do it both ways. I'm going to do Redis for the queue, and also I'm going to show you how to do it with the database, which is exactly the same thing. And for the search itself, we are going to use Meilisearch, which is a blazing fast, free search index thingy-mabop that we can self-host, and also if we need to put this into production, we can deploy it to AWS, for example. So we can have a search index database and our website communicating to each other and returning very fast searches, and all of that using Laravel Scout. So, but before that, we need some more tests, because right now the only thing that we have is the brand ID and the car model. Okay, which, by the way, now they are. Oh, is this expired? Yeah, had this out for a while, became stale. So now it works. If we search for a car brand, which I have to change that label, by the way. Hi, Tanitech. How are you today? I am great. How are you? Thank you for being here. Thank you for joining me. I'm doing awesome. If you remember from last time, was it last week? Yeah. Wow, time flies. Last week, this wasn't working. And I think I posted in the comment, there is a comment pinned in the last video where I found the solution not 5 minutes after finishing the stream, which is A, really good, and B, so infuriating. The solution, if you didn't read the comment, it's in the code here. Basically, this wasn't here. This, by the way, in the car list component, this is the car list test. So car list component, we have a column, which is basically a custom column, or at least the content of the column is custom, and I created a view for it, which is row content. And in row content, I load in a Livewire component for the carousel card. But this thing needed a key. Otherwise, Livewire will freak out and just throw an error and give up midway and not render any of my searches. So apparently that was not a thing in a previous version, because this happened when I upgraded. I ran Composer update. So maybe in one of the updates from Livewire, this thing was strictly enforced, and that screwed me so hard. So yeah, that was the fix, and now it's working. But now we need more search fields, because we also need to be able to search by year and by price. So let's do those first, knowing fully that the search is going to change. So there's nothing to do about that. We're gonna have to do some rework after the fact. But let's first introduce the tests to at least make sure that we can do the searches without Scout, and then introduce Scout, and then do the rework. Let me change this. I'm gonna go change that label right away. So annoying. Car list. Brand ID, is it? Filters, yeah. And by the way, I should start a vdet server because I don't have one. That's fine. I'm gonna do it here. Cool. And just anticipating to the test that I'm going to run. I'm gonna open a new terminal. Okay, let's go to the test cases. I'm gonna close this. And right now we just have can filter post by car brand and by car model. Let's add one more, which is going to be very similar to this one. And let's just copy this and paste it here. And now we can search by car price. No, year, sorry. Posts. Yeah, posts, listings, whatever. So we're going to create a count of 10 again for the specific brand. Made that in the database. The models, we grab the first, and that's the one we're going to use for the search right here. First, we're going to search that we can see the tables without searching, then filter those by year. And this will be year as well. So year will be car first year. Like so, and going to replace all of this with year. That's not right. All right, that's better. I think that looks good. Save this and run. Yeah, this error means we don't have a filter for this. So let's create one. Back to car list. We have the model. This is a text one, so it's going to be pretty much the same as the model. So let's copy that one. Comma and one more. This is going to be year let's do it like that. One more. Although, here's an interesting thing. I should be able to have a range of years to look for, not just 1 year specifically. So I can look for cars from a specific year up to another year. So that's a range. So this is going to be, I'm going to rework it once I get it to work, because yeah, it's not just one value. Well, the tests should reflect that. So if we look for a range of years, the car year should be within that range. So I think let's try this. So we get a year, but we are going to why should do testing? Well, it's a good practice, I guess. It's not always the case where you have a project and you get to do the testing from the get-go. And I'm trying to do that myself because I'm guilty of not testing my software a lot. So I'm trying to get into the habit of testing first before developing. And that should give you a testable result or testable product at the end. If you have the ability to do it, you should do it. Again, I myself have been in a situation where I just want to hit the ground running and just start coding and start throwing things at the wall and see what sticks. That's I think that's called agile development, but it's also valid if you don't want to do testings. You don't have to do testings, but if you can and if you want to incorporate that into your design and your development process, it's not a bad thing to have. So that's basically why. More of a selfish thing. It's something that I want to do myself, so I just show you guys how I do it. So I was saying we need a range. So we're going to take the year of the car. Maybe just make year from. No, not like this, because I don't want to do two queries for just one value. So let's just say year from is equal to year plus one. No, minus one. We can simplify that. No, we can't. And let's say year two is the opposite. So year two will be a plus one. So that'll give us a range of from this year to this year, and the car does fall within that range. So that's kind of what I want to do. So I'm not going to use a like in this situation. Should be a greater than. Or equal to year from without any of this. And we're going to need another one. Another where. So this line's getting too long. Let me put this down here. So I can do where, parse where from, year from, and another one which is less than or equal than year two. So that's the happy path. Let's do the opposite. So I'm going to delete this completely and just do this and copy. Hold on. Cannot see table records. So maybe I just replace the inside of it. So what would be the let's see, copy this. I just have to make these ranges not work. So instead of greater than, how about we just do less than? Less than year from, that'll be outside the range, and outside the the left range, and year 2, instead of less than equal, let's do greater than. So basically the first one is just, is it between this and this? And the second one is the opposite. Is it, I cannot see the records that are outside that range, if that makes sense. So let me run the test again because this changed a lot. Really? You're gonna do me like that right off the bat? I haven't done anything. All I did was, I don't even, okay. Hi, Felipe, how you doing? Thank you for your great job. Felipe from Brazil. Hello, Felipe from Brazil. How you doing, man? Thank you for being here. And you're welcome. My pleasure, actually. So I have a filter. So was that the only problem? I mean, I can have one filter and it's going to pass. I guess if I filter by, okay, no, yeah, it makes sense. If I filter by that, if I just have one input and I filter it by that input, like, let's see. So there is a filter. It's not a range. Oh, I'm filtering by year. Okay. So I need two filters. Basically, the test is just doing the filter by one, but I am is badly structured, basically. I need two filters right now. I need a year. How do we call this? Is it going to work if I call it year from? Probably. Let's try that. So year from equals to year from, and I probably can't do both at the same time because this filter table, I can't do two filters at once. So I'm gonna have to do it separately, I think. So instead of doing from and to at the same time, I'm gonna have to do it separately. So I probably don't need this one, only so the card needs to be greater than year from, and I don't want anything that is less than that. So that's going to complain about this filter here. I need this. And I can put this in the same line from here -1. Okay. Thing is, the filter is going to be called year. It doesn't matter. The form is going to have two inputs, from and to. And then I decide to use those two values in data and create the query that I want. So the the filter has to be year in both scenarios. I just decide that I have to test one first, and I mean, filter table, this has to take at least two values. Right? It would make sense because a filter can have a form. Let me check the documentation. Maybe the fact that I can have IntelliSense on this one's just making me so mad. Let's go to Filament. And I'm looking for testing on tables. So table builder. Testing. There is filters. To filter a table records, you can use the filter table method along with a circumstancy table. Yeah, I'm doing that, but here again. Can I put more than one value into this filter table? Doesn't say. Do I really have to do it in two separate tests? I really hate that. Resetting filters, removing filters. Remove table filters, nothing more. I mean, I would assume. Can I pass an array here? Is it going to accept an array? Or is it going to crap out right away? Undefined array key year. That's not true. Did I change the name? No, it's called year. It's right there. Wait. Why are you passing down the data? What does data has? Should be. Is it? I don't know. Hold on. Let me see what's the contents of data first. There it is. Year. Year. Okay, let me read this thoroughly. Hmm. It's a different error. Okay, you're making me mad. What? Car list 63 right here. This has a key called year. What are you saying? Oh, it's null. It should be. Not. And don't do this. That's it. Oh my god, what's going on with you? Well, I guess that happens when that happened when I did the array key here. So maybe that's the problem. You don't like this? Yeah, that's the problem. No, I can't pass two values. This basically is failing to assert that I'm filtering the value. Okay, that's fine. Guess I'll have to live with this. All right, so I'll just have to change the query here to accommodate for one of the inputs at least. So here's where I name this will be year from. From year, I don't know. We'll see how it looks. So this is one input. So user puts in the lower end of the range here. So in the query, I need to say when there is a year from, modify the query and make it so that is greater than or equal to year from. And I'm guessing that's gonna make it that's gonna make it pass. I'm hoping. No. Oh, because I didn't do the second part, which is the opposite. Wait, didn't I do that? It's failing on the second part. asserting that does not contain, and this doesn't make any sense to me, but basically it's just say record number 2. I guess maybe I should be more specific about the data set. Maybe I have 10 records. One of them could be, I don't know, causing problems. So maybe I just do 2 records and I set the state specifically. Like, for example, new sequence. And here we can say the first one is going to be year 2016 for saying something. And the second one (2018). Give it at least 2 of distance. So the first one, first year from, is going to be 2016. So I need you to filter by 2016. And I'm able to see records that are greater than or equal to 2016. I should make this 2018 and 2016. So the first one is greater than, so that when I test for this one, I cannot see records that are less than 2018 in this case, which is the second record. Makes sense, at least in my head. So year from, let's just be specific here, 2018. All right, let's try that. Why? Why in God's name are you not filtering it? Is that a thing? I hope so. What now? Am I missing a parenthesis somewhere? Are you screwing? Oh. Oh, sorry. I'm just trying to see the query, that's all. Really? Oh, it's a collection. Dang it. Okay, fine. Do it like this. Car query. Yeah. So what happens if I do that? What do I get? So I get the 2016 one, which is fine. Here from 2018. So I'm getting the 2016. I should not be able to see the 2016. So that's this statement here. If I do the opposite, I should be able to see this record here. Which is 2018. Okay. Fine. So I'm guessing the test is okay. But the implementation is not. Okay, this is just annoying. Let me see it in the web page, see what I'm working with from here. So 2016, 2019, 2018. So let's say 2019. No results because I can't write. Okay, at least it's working here. Well, kinda. No, it's fine. 2018 and 2019 from. I'm gonna put a pin to the test because I don't want to get hang on the test only, and I'm sure it's just a logical thing that I'm missing somewhere. And I do want to get to the actual search improvements of this one. So I'm just gonna put the test aside for a moment so that we can move to the meat and potatoes of the video today, which is the search engine. I'm gonna add just one more search here. I'm gonna cheat a little. So I'm gonna add 2 here. So that at least we have year from, year two. I'm sure I'm going to modify this a bit. Query where. Well, I'm gonna need another when here. So when year from, we do this. And then copy this, add another when, year two. And make this less than or equal. Okay, so if we say from 2016, Jesus, 2016. So this gives us 2 because everyone is from 2016 and upward. And let's say up to 2019. That didn't work. No, 2018. That does work. Okay, so it works. We can agree on that. It works. All right, let's stop with this one. Let's leave the price for later and just let's bring in Laravel Scout, because at the end of the day, we want the faster search, and I want to show you how we can incorporate all of this. So Laravel Scout. The first thing we need is to bring in the package for Laravel Scout, which we are missing right now. So let's copy this and quickly install it. And I believe they also recommend to publish the configuration. So let's do that with this command. It's a little small. Copy that and put it here as well. So that gives us one new file in config, scout.php. And next thing we need to do is configure it. We need to add this trait to whatever model we want to be searchable. So in this case, it's just going to be the car model. So let's open the car model, and at the top, let's use searchable. Comes from Laravel Scout searchable. And what else? It says queuing, but there is another thing that we also have to do in the model. So there is one function that comes with the trait, and it's called public function to searchable array. Now this, if you don't override this function, the entire model is going to be serialized into an array, and it's going to be available for search. What I'd like to do is just be specific about it and just return an array. And we are going to search by brand. And basically the brand, I just want to turn it into I just pass the relationship. So this brand, and you're going to see how this turns out and how is this going to be serialized into a document that we can then search by. So just the brand and also the model. Year. And price. So this just gives us the array that Laravel Scout is going to use to take our model and serialize it into Meilisearch, which is the indexing search engine that we're going to use. And now we can decide, we have to decide on what queue we are going to use, because the way that this works is every time we create a record, every time we delete something, every time we do something with the model, Laravel Scout is going to take care of taking the model and synchronize that with the search index. So that needs to happen on the background. So if we change, if we modify a record, then that's going to be sent into Meilisearch and synchronized in that database. So we want that to happen on the background so that the user doesn't have like a wait period. And for that, we are going to use a queue. Now, you have two options. You can decide to use Redis for the queue or database, and we are going to do both. They work exactly the same. The only thing with Redis is that if you don't use Laravel Herd, you are going to install the Redis extension using, I think, Perl. But because I use Herd for both Windows and Mac, on Mac is coming, the PHP version comes already pre-compiled with Redis. And I'm saying Redis as a joke, so don't quote me on that. And on Windows, the extension already comes pre-downloaded and installed. So we can use you can use Redis right out of the box if you're using Herd. If not, you're going to have to Google how to install the extension and enable it in the .ini in the .ini file. But let's see how it works. Then you need to download and install the server. I think I already do it. I already did it with Brew. Let me check. So if I do Redis server, yeah. So on my Mac, and let's see if I can find the installation of that. Docs install Redis on macOS. So basically, I just used Brew to install the Redis stack. I'm guessing there is here it is, the Windows installation. There is no binary, so you have to work with WSL. Basically, do it as if you were doing it on whatever Linux distro you're using on WSL. Ubuntu, for example, you're going to have to do apt, let's say Linux here. You're going to have to do this series of commands to download the server on your Linux distro on WSL. And then you can just start the server as I'm going to do right now. And it's going to work because Herd for Windows already has the extension enabled and is able to communicate with it. So once you have Redis server installed, let me do this on a separate tab. Hold on. So I do Redis server, and that starts a server. And now it's waiting for, it's just going to be available as our queue manager. So if we go back here, we have to tell Scout that we want to queue. And I think that takes place in the configuration. So let's open scout.config, scout config. And we are going to need to set the Scout driver, because by default is using Algolia, and we're going to use Meilisearch, and also set the Scout queue to true and its default to false. So let's take these two variables and set them in our .env file. And I think I already have them preset. So yeah, Scout driver, Meilisearch, Scout queue, that's true. Also, we need to install Meilisearch, right? So we have Redis is running. And now we need, hold on, let me check my notes. I do have notes. So now we need to install Meilisearch. So let's do that. Let's get the documentation for that. It's very straightforward. On the installation part, let me make this a little bigger. There is installations for every system. On Mac, just use Homebrew, and it's going to download this binary. I have it on my home folder already. And on Windows, again, you have to use WSL and work as if you were doing it with curl, like this. So on your Linux distro, you just run this curl command and you're gonna get this. I think I did the curl in my Mac OS, or maybe I didn't. So basically, once you have this installed, I think I have it here. Let me see. Right here. Yeah, I might have done the curl installation on my end instead of the homebrew, which just basically gives us this executable. That is the Meilisearch server. So if I just run that with Meilisearch, now the first time you run it, if you don't specify a master key, which is basically the API key that is going to be used to connect your Laravel application with the server, if you run it without it, what? Meilisearch want to invite to infer the version of database. Still, please follow. What? Really? This was working before. Oh, come on. Don't fail me now. Okay. So apparently, if I don't run it with the master key, it's going to give me an error. But the first time I ran this, it generated one for me. So that's why I'm providing that value in the command right here. So I guess it's having a problem without it. So basically, you just run that command, you start the server, and then you provide the master key that you're going to use, and then it starts a Meilisearch server locally. So now we have two things running. We have a Meilisearch server, which is going to be used for search indexing, and the Redis server, which is going to be used for the queue. So if let's split this in two as well. Let's say Let's start a worker, a queue worker now. No, wait, not yet, because there is something else. There is a package that we need to install that is a dependency for this to work, which is the Meilisearch package. Actually, there's a couple of them. So let's go back to VS Code. If we start the worker right now, it's going to fail, and then I have to restart the queue worker again. So before I do that, let's jump into here and let's do composer require. We need Meilisearch Meilisearch-php, and also http-interop/http factory guzzle. That's a mouthful, but we need these two packages for PHP to work and interact with the Meilisearch server. Basically, it's just a couple of composer installs, and that's going to do the trick. Now, when this is done, we can go back and start the worker, the queue worker. All right. Go back to the terminal. We can do PHP artisan. Oh, wait. Let's double check that our queue connection is actually Redis. In our .env file, let's look for queue connection. If you see it, tell me. Queue connection, right here. This, I'm guessing, on every Laravel installation, fresh installation at least, from 11 onward, this defaults to database. Laravel 10 and before, I think this defaults to sync, if I'm not mistaken, which is just work on every dispatched event is going to be handled in the foreground and not put into a queue. So we set this to Redis, and that should be enough. So now we can do PHP artisan queue work. And I'm not in the folder. cd Laravel use cars queue work. Okay, now we are waiting for events. This queue works for every dispatched event on our application, and one of those dispatched events is going to be coming from Scout. So, for example, if you are using this on an existing project, and you are just setting this as searchable now, that means that you probably have already a bunch of records that you want to index so that we can use those and search those in Meilisearch. So see what's the command. So in order for us to import our existing records into Meilisearch, there is an artisan command for that, which is very simple. Just do PHP artisan scout import, and then provide the model name that you want to index. In this case, it's not post, it's car. So that's going to take that model, take all of the records from the database and index those into into Meilisearch. So let's run that and take a look at the queue and what happens. So scout import, imported models up to 13. And if we look at the queue, we see a event make searchable, running and done. And that event is going to fire every time we create, modify, or delete a car. So that the sync between Meilisearch, so that Meilisearch and our database stays in sync and we can perform searches into it. So that's the setup for Meilisearch using Redis. If you don't want to use Redis for the queue, you can default to database. So for example, let me stop the worker with Control-C, and I'm going to kill the Redis server. also Control C. Let me close this tab and go back to VS Code. And for queue connection, instead, let's use database. Do notice that you're going to need the jobs table. So if your project does not have the migration file, let me show you which one. So in your database migrations, there should be one migration for the jobs table, like create failed jobs, and I think that's it. Anyway, if you need to recreate the table structure for the queue to work, there is also a command for that, php artisan make queue table. It's not defined, really? Probably that's Laravel 11. So in this project is not 11. So in Laravel 11, probably the migration does not come pre-installed because Laravel 11 just scaled down on the things that it gives you. So the migration file, it's probably not there by default. That's why you will have that command available. But Laravel 10 and down, the migration is already there. So when we run the migration, when we run the migrations, it's already there. So if we switch, technically, if we switch to the database, a database connection for the queue like this, and save, then go back to the terminal and start the worker again. Worker start, queue work. Queue work. So now we're running the queue from the database. So that's just a choice. If you want to use Redis, and that's a perfectly acceptable choice. It's a very fast queue manager. But if you don't want to deal with the hassle of installing the Redis extension for PHP and using Perl, etc., if that's too complicated or too much of a hassle for you, just go to and use the database drive, which is perfectly fine. So now that we have Meilisearch, we have a queue, we have an index of records, and by the way, you can even go to, yeah, sure. You can open up browser tab and navigate to localhost 7700, and you can even see this dashboard and see all of the records that you have indexed. In this case, if you have more than one index, you have to select it here. In this case, I'm going to go to the cars index, and these are all of the documents that were imported from our database and put into Meilisearch for searching. And you can even test your searching here and see how many hits you have and how many time it's spent on the search. And as you can see, the brand, since we passed that as a relationship, it turns that into a JSON document that is attached to the record. And you can do searches by the name, for example. And it's going to be intelligent enough to look for all of the records, model year, price, and also brand name on every record. Say, for example, we want to look for Nissan, and there it is. Now let's use this search index combined with a Laravel table and filters. Let's go back to VS Code and head into the car list where we actually do the searching. For example, instead of using where here, this is a search directly in our database, but we want to do this search on Redis. So what we do is, let's see. So query when function builder, pass the model. This, the way that they recommend doing this is something like this. Instead of using where, you use where in. And for the second part, which is where in, and here you use the ID. And for the second parameter, which is the array of values, for this where in, you use car search, and then you search for the value model. Search for whatever value you're searching for. In this case is the car model. And on that, you return keys. So this is going to perform a search in Meilisearch, return all of the IDs that correspond to this search value. And then this we're in, I believe the documentation says it's internally also using Scout. So there is no, as far as I can tell, or as far as I could read, there is no penalty for doing it like this. There is no penalty on the performance. So this is basically going to scope all of the keys to the search that we make on Meilisearch. So that's for the model. If we save and go back, this should work now with the car model. And this search is going to be performed in Meilisearch. And it's snappy, just like that. And I think if we go back to the terminal, time idle, there should be, I don't know if it shows up here in the, yeah, indexes, car search, query parameters, user agent. It's not very verbose, but basically we are now doing searches against Meilisearch. And just to demonstrate, if we, for example, go into the admin panel, and let's say we go into cars and we want to change the year or some information from this record here. Let's say we want this to be 2021 instead. If we save that, it doesn't work. No such table jobs. Oh, so we are missing a table. How come? Interesting. So apparently Filament is not finding the queue. So I'll have to look into that, but basically it should show an event here saying that the record was modified. I just have to go and check on the queue and make sure that the database queue, if we were to switch to Redis instead, that would work, right? Let's see. Let's see, we start maybe Redis server. That's good. Stop the queue. Go back to VS Code.env. Switch to Redis. Start the worker again. Go back to the admin panel. Save changes, no errors, and there it is. So every update, any update that you do to the model, it's going to show up here and it's going to sync it to the database. And that's how Laravel Scout with Meilisearch work. I'm glad I could get to it. Again, I'm going to look into the test. Probably there is a logic thing that I'm not seeing. I'm going to finish adding all of the filters here. And you can probably infer how to do the rest of the searches. For example, in these two, we can do exactly the same what we did here. Instead of searching for a model, we're going to do a car search for the year, from year to, and the brand, that's a little different. Let me do that one before I go. So you can still do query here. And this takes in a function that receives a builder. And an array of data, right? So now I have to return query. It's almost identical. I think the only thing that changes in this case is, for example, I'm going to paste all of that here. The only thing that changes is because we are using a select filter, you can't use the brand ID as the key. So the key for this value is actually going to be just value. So change that into the data, change the key for that here. So when that's passed in, then you pass that into this function that will then run a where-in ID, car search, and look for value. And that's how you search for the brand name. Let's make sure that that works. Go back here, go back out. And let's look for one brand, Nissan. And there it is. That was made with Meilisearch. Okay. So yeah, a few more things that I need to clean up here. Just the filters and the layout and stuff. Add the price filter to it. That's not going to be too difficult. The thing that is going to take me more time is to figure out why the test was not working for me. And next week, I'm going to have the test cases written, but not tested, so that we can test and see the errors and have everything passed. And then move on to something different. We are on week 6, so that means that we have 4 more weeks to get this to a presentable stage, like a vertical slice, a minimum viable product. I think the thing I'm going to do next week is going to polish the page a little bit, add a navigation bar up here, make it look like an actual website, maybe. Because if we have a car list, if we have a list of cars, we can have images for those cars. We can have an admin panel for the cars, and we can have the front-facing page look nice. Then I consider the project to be minimal, right? Every other thing that we want to add to it, maybe subscriptions of some sort, or maybe payments of like, I thought of this in the other website, people can pay to upgrade or feature their listings. So maybe that's something I want to add, or maybe give a person 3 listings by default for each month. And if they want to add another listing, then they have to pay, make an extra payment. Like they have an allotted set of listings for every month. And if they want extra, then they have to either subscribe for a monthly payment or just pay for that extra listing. That'll be interesting, right? But again, that's only if we have time. And but I need to stick to the 10-week mark. And so if we can make it before 10 weeks and just have this look nice and tidy, that's perfect. If not, at least we have to make it to a 10-week, right? That's the goal. So thank you so much for joining me today. I hope the Laravel Scout was something useful that you're going to use in your projects. If it is, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.